A recent Gallup poll reveals that public confidence in the U.S. military has reached its lowest point since 1997. Over the past 2 years, trust in the armed forces has declined by 10 points, leading to a historic recruitment crisis. Lurenn Santos has the details.
According to a Gallup poll published on Monday, fewer Americans have confidence in their military than at any point since 1997. Over the last 2 years, trust in the armed forces has dropped by 10 points, leading to a historic recruitment crisis for the services. The poll that was conducted in June revealed that 60% of respondents expressed a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the military, which is down from 64% last year. The last time public confidence in the military was at 60% was in 1997, and it has not been lower since 1988, when it was at 58%. After the 9/11 attacks in 2001, public support for the U.S. services surged, with the armed forces enjoying 82% approval when President George W. Bush invaded Iraq in 2003. While the post-9/11 patriotism declined as the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan continued, approval remained in the mid-70s until 2020, when it began to steadily decline year after year. Traditionally, Republicans are more likely to support the military than Democrats, but their confidence has dropped from 91% in 2020 to 68% today. As public support for the military declines, the armed forces are facing challenges in recruiting new members. Army, Navy, and Air Force leaders testified in a congressional hearing in March that they all expect to fall short of their recruitment targets this year, particularly after the Army experienced its worst year for recruitment in 2020 since the abolition of the draft in 1973. According to a Pentagon study published in March, of the 17 to 24-year-olds usually targeted by military recruiters, 80% are physically unfit for service due to obesity, drug use, or poor mental health. Furthermore, only 9% of this age group have an interest in joining the military in the first place, as stated by Army Secretary Christine Wormuth in an interview with CNBC News in October. Reporting, this has been Lurenn Santos, SMNR News.
Two neighboring countries of Niger announced the sanctions imposed by the Economic Community of West African States against the junta in Niger, saying that intervention would mean a declaration of war. Jane Cognita has the details.
Following the coup that ousted Niger's elected President Mohamed Bazoum, the country is now in the hands of the junta, led by General Abdurrahman Tiani. And while the United Nations urged all parties to show restraint, West African leaders on Monday treated the Niger junta, ordering it to stand down or face punitive measures if it fails to reinstate Bazoum in 15 days. At the same time, the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, issued its own ultimatum on Sunday, saying that they would take all measures necessary to restore constitutional order in Niger, including the use of force if Bazoum is not reinstated within a week. To this, the military and governments of Mali and Burkina Faso warned the West and other African states against intervening in Niger. Their first ever joint communique stated, and quotes, "Any military intervention against Niger would amount to a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali," end of quote. The joint communique has also been repeated 3 times during a state television broadcast by the military spokesman of Burkinabe. The statement further said that in case of an intervention, Mali and Burkina Faso would withdraw from ECOWAS and adopt self-defense measures in support of the armed forces and the people of Niger. Both countries also condemned ECOWAS for sanctioning Niger, calling it illegal, illegitimate, and inhumane. Both countries also warned that a military intervention in their neighboring country could destabilize the entire region, as had the unilateral NATO intervention in Libya, which was at the root of the expansion of terrorism in the Sahel and West Africa. A Financial Times report said that France currently has 1,500 troops as well as a drone base in Niger. The United States, on the other hand, has 1,100 troops and 2 drone bases. Burkina Faso and Mali have sought to sever their ties to France and rebuild their respective countries with Russian assistance. And it seems that the junta leader of Niger is also severing its ties with Paris after the military announced that it would suspend the export of uranium and gold to France. Niger is the seventh largest producer of uranium in the world, accounting for 4% of global output. Reporting, this has been Jane Conita, Azimunan News.
Saudi Arabia will host a Ukrainian-organized peace summit to find a way of ending war between Ukraine and Russia. Melchizedek Cadiz reports.
The head of the Ukraine's presidential office, Andrei Yermak, confirmed that Saudi Arabia will host talks in early August to assess the situation in Ukraine and discuss a peace plan. The summit will be attended by national security advisors and political advisors who are expected to discuss the implementation of Ukraine's peace formula in Jeddah. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has first introduced the 10-point peace plan to the global leaders during the G20 summit in Bali, Indonesia in November of last year. In December, Zelensky urged world leaders to support his idea for a global peace summit that would focus on peace plan. Ukraine's 10-point peace plan calls for the implementation of radiation and nuclear safety, food security, energy security, prisoners and deportees, United Nations Charter and Ukraine's territorial integrity, as well as world order, Russian troops and hostilities, justice, immediate protection for the environment, and prevention of escalation, and confirmation of the end of the war. The Ukrainian Peace Summit will be divided in 3 phases, with the first phase one held in Denmark on June 27th, the second phase to take place in Saudi Arabia in early August, and the last phase to possibly take place by the end of the year. Western allies have promised to support Ukraine with more weapons during the 2-day NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, earlier this month. However, Ukraine's NATO membership remains unclear as member states are divided whether to invite Ukraine to the alliance. Reporting, this has been Melchizedek Cadiz, SMNI News, Kuwait.